Thanks, Earthlings, and welcome to Story Time. Once upon a time, there was a strange, middle-aged Pamazon who hailed from the kingdom of Endangered Earthlings. She lived in a tiny home with wheels in which she had wild adventures at the behest of the science officer, Stephen. Little did she know, Stephen hated her guts. He sent her deep into the extraterrestrial mountains where there were myths of aliens. When you make the most sacred human alliance, the pinky swear, why do you use the tiny finger and not the big one? Three-toed cows. And Mormons. As she drove through the barren desert, a mountain rose up before her, white with snow, deadly ice, and treacherous roads. Alas, the Pamazon's tiny home had wheels from the flat land of Florida, where the only snow came out of Coke machines at the Circle K. Her tiny home went slipping and sliding through the slushy mountain roads until she could go no further. She said to her little pack of variously shaped creature children, "Variously shaped creature children, this is where we live now, Mount Irish." Just in time for St. Patrick's Day, too. And so they began their new life in the snowy mountain desert of the extraterrestrial highway. The skies were full of thunderous human-made aircraft that came bearing the gift of double sonic booms that shook her tiny house and frightened her children. Noisy as shit. The Pamazon feared she would never sleep again. And then the night set in, and her fear came true. "There shall be no sleep in the midst of the cold, freezing temperatures with no furnace to warm you." Deep in the night, the Pamazon climbed beneath her bed and opened the secret compartment which held a magical blanket stuffed with the feathers of 1,000 McChicken sandwiches. As if it were in slow motion, she saw the look in the eyes of her 100-pound wolf child as she pounced upon the lid, which came crashing down on the Pamazon's wrist. When the strange sounds and monosyllabic words were finished spewing from her mouth, she examined her wrist. She didn't examine it. There was no salmon in it. She examined her wrist, which was luckily only sprained. Then, at 3:30 in the morning, she lit her stove and set fire to the mystical clay pots gifted to her by Queen Terry, and she settled in for the long winter's night and day and night and day and day and night and night and day. She found herself alone in this strange land. Each day she raised the antenna higher and higher, trying to reach the outside world to no avail. On the third day, she met the king of the cows, who promised her he would send his fastest cow to the land of endangered earthlings with the message, "The Pamazon has arrived safely." On the 7th night, just as the Pamazon lay her head against the icy pillow, all of a sudden, every window of her tiny home was illuminated with the bright light of day. She sprang to her feet and ran to the pistol her parents gave her to keep her safe. With great foreboding, she swung open the door of her tiny home, and she faced the blinding light before her. What could it be? "Can I help you?" she shouted. Nothing. She stood in the doorway and gripped the pistol with both hands, pointing it down to the ground, and shouted, "Hello?" From behind the blinding lights stepped a magnificent being called a Deputy Walsh. "Are you Pamela? Your family is worried about you," he said. "Ah, shit," she said. She and the deputy agreed that in 10 days' time she would return to the land of the humans to endure the punishment surely coming her way by her mother. The next 10 days tested the courage of the Pamazon. The nights were long and sleepless, and the icy fingers of the high desert slipped up her nose to awaken her frequently. The days blew cold with the wind of 1,000 Chicagos, but without the smell of delicious pizza. But it was not long before the Pamazon found her natural essence here. She touched the gravel with her hands. She climbed the mountain with her feet. She listened to the crows caw and watched the silent desert as the shadows painted every corner a masterpiece. She sat atop a hill in silence with her sister, long since passed, and left her ashes as a reminder to the mountain that she exists. As she reached the last day of her journey, she turned her face to the sky and thanked Stephen for sending her to this magical place. And they all lived minimal after.